the very best.
Pokemon is the world's highest grossing media franchise at $12 billion a year in revenue as of 2024, spanning media from single-player video games to board games, from a MOBA to a fighting game, from plushies to cafes to an anime series that you, dear viewer, might even associate deeply with your own childhood. The Pokemon trading card game is no exception, and lately booster boxes and packs have been flying off the shelves. But the Pokemon trading card game has largely occupied the space of a collector's first product in many enfranchised card game players' minds, with oft-seen claims of no one plays this game and only collectors buy Pokemon cards. So today I'm going to tell you why the Pokemon TCG is not only a viable competitive trading card game among the many card games out on the market today, but might be the best competitive trading card game for you to get into today. If you're looking to try out a new trading card game, are burnt out on your main game, or have been simply curious about the Pokemon TCG, this video is for you. It's no secret that trading card games are known to be expensive hobbies. People in these spaces often have tales of that one friend with a Magic the Gathering deck worth half a car. And the internet is awash with videos of people opening packs upon packs hoping to hit that $1,000 Charizard secret illustration rare or signature Ari. However, Pokemon holds a unique space in trading card games, where the barrier to entry for a competitive deck is much, much lower than other games. These are the most popular trading card games in the market right now. Some of you may note that I'm missing Riftbound, the new League of Legends card game that's receiving a lot of much deserved hype. But I decided to not include it as it's both too new, with a release date of October 31st, 2025, and has been plagued with supply issues in its first few months, causing prices to skyrocket. For each of these games, I've broken down the top 8 competitive archetypes as of the writing of this video, and the cost to build an example deck for each of those archetypes by buying the single cards from a local or online marketplace. Feel free to pause to read for each game. Deck prices may vary from deck to deck even among the same archetype, but hopefully this is good enough to get a sense of the pricing for each game. For Magic the Gathering, following the recent World Championships 2025, the most popular archetypes in the metagame and their corresponding prices are as follows, taken from mtgtop8.com, with an average of $422.63 for a fully competitive deck. For Yu-Gi-Oh!, the same is as follows, taken from ygOprodeck.com, with an average cost of $292.50 for a fully competitive deck. For One Piece, the same is as follows, taken from Limitless TCG, with an average of $126 for a fully competitive deck. One Piece is unique in that its population peaks in the very low and very high deck prices, so this average number might not reflect the actual cost to build a competitive deck in One Piece. For Star Wars Unlimited, the same is as follows, taken from SWU Competitive Hub, with an average of $163.13 for a fully completed deck. And finally, for the Pokemon TCG metagame, the same is as follows, taken from Limitless TCG, with an average of only $50.38 for a fully competitive deck. As you can see, compared to all the other games mentioned, Pokemon sits at an astonishingly low price, meaning that for perhaps the cost of a single powerful staple in another game, you can acquire a full deck in Pokemon, no holds barred. The financial barrier to entry, one of the most daunting barriers in trading card games, is unequivocally lower here than elsewhere. But does it matter when only a few decks can compete in tournaments? Many seasoned trading card game players can tell you that if a single deck dominates competitive play, it can get very, very tiresome to play the same matchups over and over and over. So what does deck diversity look like in the Pokemon trading card game? We can use Limitless Labs to determine the deck diversity of any given Pokemon trading card game tournament. Let's look at the last 3 major Pokemon tournaments for how many deck archetypes, at minimum, there are represented in 50% of the tournament in day 2 of competition. At the Stuttgart Regional, there were 4 separate archetypes, with the highest at 21.4%. Sao Paulo, or Latin American International Championships, had 4 separate archetypes, with the highest at 21%. And at the Las Vegas Regional, there were 5 separate archetypes making up the top 50% of the metagame, with the highest percentage at 17.9%. Let's compare that to some of the other games in the space. For Yu-Gi-Oh!, I was able to find data for YCS Bologna and YCS Pittsburgh. YCS Bologna has 4 separate archetypes, with its highest at 20%, and YCS Pittsburgh, with 3 separate archetypes making up the top 50%, had its highest at 24%. For Magic the Gathering, we have Spotlight Series Liverpool, with only 2 separate archetypes, the highest at 45.4%. Spotlight Series Baltimore came in with only 1 archetype making up the top 50%, with the highest at 51.9%. And Spotlight Series Orlando, again with only one archetype, highest at 54.1%. For Star Wars Unlimited, the Galactic Championship had 7 separate archetypes, with its highest at 23.2%. Sector Qualifier Munich had 9 separate archetypes, with its highest only at 7.6%. And Sector Qualifier Portland had 6 separate archetypes, with the highest represented at 16.4%. As you can see, with Star Wars at the upper end of diversity and Magic at the very low end of diversity, Pokemon falls fairly solidly in the middle. It's neither incredibly diverse, but it's not a one-deck format. But even at a cheap cost with a reasonably wide array of viable decks for play, no one wants to invest time and effort in a strategy game that might just come down to who draws the better cards at the better time, right? Is there actually nuance and skill that's able to be expressed playing what many refer to as a children's card game? Skill expression is a very difficult metric to measure, especially between games, with different rules, resources, and gameplay nuances unique to each game. So I decided to go with 2 approaches here, one anecdotal and one slightly data-based. Anecdotally, as someone who's been obsessed with and playing trading card games for over 2 decades, I've never felt like my decisions during the game had more of an impact than in Pokemon. What's particularly unique about Pokemon is the amount of generic search or tutoring that is available to players. The Pokemon trading card game is chock full of ways of searching your deck for specific Pokemon, items, or supporters to further your game plan and hinder your opponents. And these ways of searching often begin as early as turn 1 of the game. That means a misuse of a search might deprive you of a way to draw out of a sticky situation, and not seeing a line might put you a turn or 2 behind tempo from what you expected. Additionally, this means that the resource management is critical, as using both copies of your 2-of card early that you didn't foresee needing in the endgame, only to realize that you could search for this card but have no more copies left in your deck, can make or break a game. Furthermore, Pokemon is a your turn only game, where your actions as a player can only be executed on your own turn and you cannot play cards on your opponent's turn. There are a litany of cards that are able to disrupt or hinder your opponent. That means that to be a high-level Pokemon player, you have to have knowledge of what your opponent is capable of with the given resources they have, and correctly predicting a sequence and stymieing your opponent's outs to win the game can flip a losing situation into a winning situation. For a little more data, looking at the largest recent regional championship, Las Vegas Regional Championship, we can see that among the top 4, all 4 players are multiple regional championship winners prior to this tournament, and 3 of the 4 are international champions as well. Ryuki Okada, the 4th place finisher in Las Vegas, had in fact just won the Brisbane Regional 2 weeks prior. This clearly illustrates the power of skill in this game for the same great players to consistently rise to the top of thousands of competitors. But even a budget-friendly game with a high skill ceiling and lots of skill expression is often not worth playing unless there's other people to play with. Many retired League of Legends player playing a free skill expressive game will tell you that queuing up for just one more solo queue game is something they never want to do again. But playing League of Legends with 4 friends is some of the best fun they might have ever had. In terms of large tournament turnout, we're seeing Pokemon continue to grow tournament after tournament, year after year. Here are the last few North American major tournaments in Pokemon, which are open invite, meaning there is no qualification process to enter beyond signing up online and paying the price, and the corresponding attendance. We have the Las Vegas Regional at 2,919 players, the Milwaukee Regional with 2,305 players, the Pittsburgh Regional with 2,691 players, and New Orleans, host of the North American International Championships with 3,812 players. Magic the Gathering has a similar open invite tournament, named the Spotlight Series. Here are the most recent North American Spotlight Series tournaments and their corresponding attendance. Yu-Gi-Oh! Also has large-scale open invite tournaments called the Yu-Gi-Oh! Champion Series, or YCS. The 4 most recent North American YCS tournaments and their corresponding attendance are as follows. One Piece has regionals as well, which are also open invite tournaments, although the frequency of occurrence appears to be much higher than Pokemon Regionals, MTG Spotlight Series, and Yu-Gi-Oh! YCS tournaments. So I've combined tournaments that occur on separate coasts at the same time together. The last 4 combined tournaments in North America and corresponding attendance are as follows. Star Wars Unlimited has 2 levels of open play tournaments, sector qualifiers and regional qualifiers, as well as a once-a-year Galactic Championship qualifier. The last 4 tournaments in North America of this level are as follows. As you can see, Pokemon is on par, if not exceeds, its fellow competitive trading card games in terms of large open invite tournament turnout. And although it's not a perfect metric to compare, it does show that the game is thriving and alive, at least in the North American region. Pokemon also heavily encourages in-store league play, with Pokemon regularly sending out prize packs, special packs that contain premium versions of often played staple cards in the decks, to local game stores to distribute as prize support. as well as encouraging local tournaments with the League Challenge and League Cup tournaments that contribute points toward qualifying for the World Championships. So is that it then? Is Pokemon the best trading card game on the market, and you should never play any of these other games I've mentioned? Far from it. Trading card games have all sorts of appeal for all sorts of players, from being faithful representation of beloved properties, to having gorgeous art and presentation, and emphasizing different parts of gameplay that individuals might gravitate toward in particular. But as someone who's heard all too often the passing off of Pokemon as just a simple kids game that's marketed solely toward collectors, I hope this video helps spread the passion I have for one of my favorite trading card games. Thanks for watching the video. If you want to see more card game content, be sure to like and subscribe for more in the future. Bye!